I've been thinking a lot about scars lately. I don't know if I've ever shared these stories with you guys on a stream or anything like that, but like I don't know if it really shows up well on camera. But I got the scar when I was in like third grade. It was the summer of third grade, and I was playing with the science kit, and I almost blew off my thumb just due to pressure on a closed glass container. So, as a parent, I marvel at the fact that I got to play with glass as a kid, and I'm also very nervous about the the chances that my kids repeat my mistakes. I remember this one specifically. This one on my wrist right here. Um, this is a scar that I got while in middle school. I was running around the football field. We had a practice football field, and I remember I was picked on a lot. I had a couple of bullies that were particularly focused in on me, I guess, for because I was overweight. And they pushed me from behind, and I fell down, and I fell down on a piece of glass, and it cut me pretty bad, and I ended up getting rushed to the hospital, and thankfully it barely missed the artery. I think if it did, I wouldn't be sitting here today. Um, and that in and of itself just these are two kind of scars that I've been reflecting on over the past couple of weeks as I've been sitting down one to actually kind of make this video. It's been a year since I got COVID, and I posted originally back a year ago on Work to Game about my experience, and it's been a pretty crazy kind of year, and I kind of keep reflecting on the concept of the scar because these scars have a mark. Like I will see them and I'll remember them, but you and me and all of us that have gone through this year have been scarred in some way. We've all had something happen to us physically or even emotionally that will forever leave like this mark on us as a society, us as a community here on YouTube, us as individuals out there in the open world. And I'm not a big believer in storytime YouTube, so to say. So if you're for some reason new here, just note that this isn't the kind of content I put out there, so don't feel like you have to subscribe. Just hi, and see you at the next story time. Try to keep it locked down to maybe one or two a year. But as I reflected on this past year, I wanted to kind of sit down and kind of do a follow up to this year of the pandemic. Over the course of this last year, like I both lost jobs, been able to maintain some level of employment, been able to file the taxes and see how much financially we got hit with the year of COVID. And I speak in a position that I feel like we weathered it much better than probably the vast majority of people in the world. And I like that's kind of the first thing that I was reflecting on these scars is that I could focus my energy on what could have gone wrong or what could have been better, but rather just focusing on what did go right in the situation, in the mess that all unfolded this past year alone. And one of the things that I know I shared with you guys is that we welcomed baby Elizabeth to the family in January. Crazy event. I didn't think I was going to be able to attend that. I talked a little bit about that trepidation and that anxiety and that stress and that guilt that I had that originally I wasn't going to be able to attend because we had, my wife's mom got COVID and we were exposed. And so the hospital had that limited down, had to lock down. Thankfully, Julie didn't go into labor until we were able to actually go to the hospital together. And I'm so glad I did. I said I'm not a big believer in story time, and there's a lot of things that I don't share on the channel. And, because you can get this, I always feel like I don't want to get in this risk of like, oh, I stubbed my toe, I almost died. That kind of meme that kind of has cropped up in the content creation world from time to time. But we were at the hospital, and I didn't share this with really many people, but it was really weird. It was a big challenge, and I was so glad that I could be there. The highlight is that we were with skilled nurses who knew what to do, and there was a moment where Julie, almost died, and the nurses rushed in. They brought in kind of the hemorrhage cart, and they saved her life. I was sitting there holding Elizabeth, watching this kind of unfold and just praying because that's all I could do. I'm not a trained doctor. I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in hospitals enough to know that the best thing I could do was to not be a problem in that situation, not to be something else to be managed. To sit down and, just hold the baby. I say that because, and comes back to the concept of what I wanted to talk about with scars, is that while in the hospital with the doctors and the nurses, and like everybody there had been impacted greatly by this pandemic, losing family members, losing parents, losing cousins and siblings. Every one of those nurses who saved my wife's life have lost somebody this year. And that, in my mind, is something that is just so amazing. The ability to take those events, everything that's happened this past year, and to soldier on. And to make something great. In this case, keeping my family whole. As I was sitting down to kind of, sit and have this conversation with you guys today, I just kept coming back to those two stories that I opened up with. And I wanted to share that story with me and my wife as we welcome, our fifth child into this pandemic year. I want to be very clear and state that this past year, I feel like that there have been whole groups of people, whole states of people, whole communities of people have been harder hit this year than we have been. Like the stories that I would hear, especially on the news. I had to actually stop purchasing alcohol because I got to a point in the pandemic that I couldn't get through the news without having a drink. And my grandfather was an alcoholic, and I've always kind of had that radar to say, if I feel like I need a drink, maybe I shouldn't have one. And I don't know if that's generally a positive trait, because there's been times where it's like, man, I would, like you kind of want to just kick back and let the alcohol kind of even just loosen your back a little bit. I don't know if anybody has ever been in sports, but that's one of the things that as a pitcher, once I could drink, having a beer after a game ended up becoming a kind of a nice therapy in a way. And I think anything with imbalance, as long as you maintain a healthy balance, I think that, alcohol can definitely be something that could be a positive in someone's life. But I know. Anyway, hopefully that's not true triggering to anybody to kind of hear. I know alcoholism is a major thing, and my mom had to deal with it more than anybody else, more than me. I met my grandfather the same day my wife did. So, all right, rest his soul. I say that because one of the things that really helped me this last year, one of the things that really helped me weather this pandemic through the uncertainty, through the madness, through the anger, through the fear, was my ability to sit down and put out content, to make videos, to sit down and talk to you guys about something other than what was really going on in the world. And to that I say thank you. And to that, the reflection that I kept having, and again, the purpose of me having this conversation and sitting down and sharing these stories is because I had an outlet, and I know a lot of people don't, or haven't had that ability. And I just wanted to sit down and encourage you guys that, like I shared the stories about these scars, and these scars tell a story. They always remind me of something of my past. And there's also scars that I'm too afraid to share. Whether I was stupid or I did something foolish, and I fell off a fence once. That's probably not a bad example of something too scared to share, but it's important to kind of share these stories whether you want to do that publicly or to somebody, privately, but it's important to kind of make sure that you're finding somebody to talk to. This year has been very isolating. It can be very isolating through YouTube, through video games, through this community. I've been blessed. And so thank you to have an outlet to share the wonderful joy that is sitting down and talking to you guys about games, to cover games, to talk about the news, to be excited about what could be coming out later this year. And I have that. Hopefully I can just encourage you either to find that if you feel like getting into the content creation world, or if you're sitting down and you're feeling so alone and isolated, to hopefully reach out to either a professional or to somebody, a friend that you haven't talked to this last year, and hopefully we can start, we can start rebuilding. We can start the recovery. We can start slowly getting back to kind of what we lost. And I think we lost a lot of time. 5 kids in a pandemic. Oh man. I look at it and I remember just agonizing over so many weird decisions and choices that would have to be made. I remember holding Maddie back from school just until we could get more data, so she was able to do remote learning. But I remember that. I remember vividly the people on Twitter like chastising parents for like, how could we send, kids back to school? And I remember just agonizing over that because, like the fear of not knowing the social impact, of like, am I stunting my child by sending them and by not sending them? Am I helping them remember the good times of this last year? I don't know if that makes sense, but I think so far, or at least in the short term, I feel like I've been able to weather that job as a parent, and that's important. And in the long term, we're gonna have to wait and see. I know Maddie, my oldest, has definitely got a penchant for germs now, and not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, again, worked in healthcare, learned how to wash those hands, get those thumbs, get all the fingers, get in between. But at the same time, not hopefully giving her some kind of like lifetime phobia of just normal everyday kid stuff. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me an outlet. Thanks for being a part of this journey this last year. I don't think I could have done it alone. Yeah. I don't really have a send-off today. I just really kind of felt like I just wanted to get that off my chest. I want to sit down and share that with you, tell you guys thank you, let you know I'm really appreciative of each and every one of you guys. And hopefully this last year, hopefully the energy that I've been able to put into this channel, into the content, has been a help for you. That was a purpose. Like there was a purpose-driven focus that you gave me this last year, that intensity. People kind of tease me like, how many channels have you spun up this year, Brian? How many videos like are you making? And it's maybe a little bit OCD at the end of the day. Like it just gets me focused and going and in that direction, and I'll just leave it at that, But it does give me that purpose, and I'm grateful because there's been some really challenging times this year, and I know I'm not alone in that. I know I've weathered it well, and I think that's without summarizing the whole video in the last couple seconds, I appreciate you. I love you. Hope you have a fantastic day, and hope to see you soon. Until then, take care.